Kaya Satsvamritamina Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Saitanya Manovistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaisavamsa Shri Rupam Sattvajatam Savana Raghunatam Vikam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Savana Lalita Shri Sakanditam Sa He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinavandhu Jagatpatim Gopisa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kansana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Visavano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Pancha Kalpataru Vaisya Kripa Sindhu Devasam Patitanam Pavanevo Vaisnavevo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityanandam Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prasarine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Vasudade Sitavine Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yes, please.
Jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada jai, Prithu Maharaj ki jai. So we saw how Prithu Maharaj, on the request of Brahma and the Devatas, and looking at all the pros and cons of the situation, he decided, let there be peace between myself and Indra. So having peace, making peace is not a sign of weakness. And now, taking Brahma's and Indra's permission, the king took the ritual bath that marked the end of his sacrifice. On Indra's command, all the gods appeared and offered him blessings. Prithu respectfully distributed gifts to the Brahmins. Pleased with the king, they offered him their heartfelt blessings. The chief sage then spoke on behalf of all present. Mighty king, everyone who attended the sacrifice by your invitation, including the Pitris, the gods, great sages, and ordinary men, have been fully satisfied by your dealings and your charity toward them. So that ends the 19th chapter. Now, Prithu respectfully distributed gifts to the Brahmins. Pleased with the king, they offered him heartfelt blessings. This is important point here. It's not that we usually go and say, Mataji or Prabhuji, please bless me. Maharaj, please bless me. I mean, it's nice, but the mood should be that we should offer something, sacrifice something, give something, and please the other person. And then when we ask a blessing or a benediction, we don't even need to ask. The person will naturally give. So that kind of blessing or benediction is very real, and it's very beneficial. The benediction is beneficial. So there needs to be a little bit more fine-tuning within our circles. Sometimes when we say, please bless me, please bless me, please bless me, there's a tinge of inauthenticity there. There's a tinge of artificiality there that we need to readjust and behave in ways that people feel to bless us. And it's not like asking them out of material motivation of I want to be blessed, but behaving in ways that makes the other person obliged to bless us. That's the Vaishnava culture, as we can see here, right? He didn't just say, Brahmins, it's your duty, I'm the king, please come bless me, No, they give a heartfelt blessing. Same with Sangha, Sadhu Sangha. There's heartfelt friendship at times. There are heartfelt well-wishing. We heartfelt wish that this person succeeds, like that. And yeah, everybody is very touched by King Prithu's mood. Here, who actually won? Who actually lost? Externally, it looks like Indra won, right? But actually, Prithu Maharaj won the hearts of everyone involved. Okay, let's continue chapter 20. Who would like to start reading?
I can read Matas. Chapter 20, Lord Vishnu instructs King Prithu. Lord Vishnu appears before Prithu and receives his worship. Maitreya glanced at the sun. It was mid-afternoon and Vidura had eaten nothing all day. He rose and picked some figs from the tree and unwrapped the wild nuts he had gathered earlier. My dear Vidura, please have this. They will keep your strength up. Keep your strength up. After offering them to Vishnu, the two friends chewed the figs and nuts. Vidura was absorbed in thought. At length he said, "It's surprising that Prithu did not feel disturbed that his sacrifice had been curtailed." Actually, he was troubled, even though he had ostensibly, is it called ostensibly, right?
Getting cut, I don't know.
What does
I don't.
Sorry, Madhus, I can't hear you. Like, continue or what should I do? Hare Krishna. Sister Madhus, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but I can't hear Radha Govinda Mataji. I can't hear her.
Yeah, me also. Should I continue?
I think her Wi-Fi is not there or something.
Oh, maybe. No?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's my Purna. Sometimes the current went off. Or something.
Yes. I think so. Let's wait for some time.
Yes. I like the picture of Krishna. It's so beautiful.
Very nice.
No,
Hare Krishna Mataji.
I don't know what happened.
No.
From here, actually, he was troubled. I don't know who is reading. Sorry.
Yeah. Actually, he was troubled, even though he had ostensibly made peace with Indra. Within his heart, he still bore a grudge. For that reason, Vishnu returned to the sacrifice. "Really?" said Vidura. "Please tell me everything the Lord said. I am keen to know." What does it mean by ostensibly?
I think by obligation.
Okay, because like Lord Brahma and sinners told him, maybe, right? Yeah. Next, please.
It means superficially.
Yes.
Actually, this point here, that wow, it's like very surprising because first of all, he's a Kshatriya, okay? And he naturally feels a sense of, come on, I have to give up for this guy, this Indra, because of some childish thing, I have to give up. It's not even, it's not something, some great thing he's going to do just because of Indra's insecurities. But this again, Snehavati, is an attitude that we need with narcissistic people, that you don't engage with them, you don't argue with them, you don't explain things. All we can do is internally make peace, because externally it's useless to sometimes face their insecurities. We can't, because we can't cure their insecurity. Here it's, and that's why Prithu is feeling a little bit, yeah, externally for the sake of peace he agreed, but inside his heart, like we feel usually with very typical narcissistic people, we may say okay, just for the sake of people around or something. But then later on we feel like, why this person did that, why for their sake I have to sacrifice my peace, or why for their sake I have to not do something or do something, right? We feel like that.
Right.
Natural. And Srimad Bhagavatam, it shows that yes, the great devotees like Prithu Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, they became great devotees. At the same time, of course, Prithu Maharaj here is Shakti Vesha Avatar, even what to speak. Still, there are emotions. This is personalism. We are human, we are creatures of emotion, we are creatures of sentiments. We are
And it
not
shows that it's so realistic, right? It is not something like you cannot connect. Yeah, right. So realistic.
very so true. So true. And even Vidura is like, oh, the connection made here is why the Supreme Lord comes. Because he knows that in Prithu's heart there is still a little bit of dissatisfaction.
Right.
And this is all very purifying to hear and read, because it gives us strength. And
Right. Very true.
like Prithu had to deal with Indra. Like sometimes we can't run away from some type of weird people with some weird insecurity issues in our life. We can't run away. We might live amongst them, we may have to work with them or something, and we need to find ways to shield ourselves, at the same time keep peace. Not easy, not easy. And Vidura is interested to know, what did Krishna say, what did the Lord say, right? It gets very interesting. Please continue.
Mitra said, "Listen, I shall tell you." Soon after the Celestials departed, Prithu prepared to return to his personal quarters, leaving the priests and ministers to oversee the clearance of the sacrificial arena. Suddenly a great effulgence appeared in the sky. They all looked up and were startled to see that Vishnu had returned. Seated on Garuda's back, the Lord slowly descended. As Prithu gazed upward, he noticed that Indra was by Vishnu's side. The king tensed. Was the god intending to create still more disturbance? He prostrated himself before the Lord, then stood with folded hands. Vishnu said, "My dear King Prithu, Indra, the king of heaven, had disturbed your execution of 100 sacrifices. Now he has come with me to seek your forgiveness. Kindly excuse him." Prithu looked from Vishnu to Indra and then back at the Lord. "My dear Lord, I already said I forgive him." Vishnu smiled. "O king, you are the best among human beings, for you intelligently desire to perform welfare work for others. Such an elevated person, knowing the difference between the soul and the body, does not bear anyone malice. You have cultivated spiritual knowledge under the auspicious sorry, it should be auspicious or auspice. Under the auspice of great teachers, do not let your knowledge and training come to naught by failing under the sway of my material energy." Pitu looked intently at the Lord. Malice? What did he mean? Yes, it made sense. He had not felt uneasy
Yeah.
when he again saw Indra. Clearly, the Lord understood his heart even better than him. Although he had ostensibly forgiven the god, he still bore him a grudge and did not trust him. Vishnu had obviously detected that and was now instructing him to truly forgive Indra. Vishnu nodded as if acknowledging Prithu's thoughts and said, Maya, a man of your caliber who knows the soul is different from the body, which is an ephemeral manifestation of past desires and karmic reactions, are not attached to their bodies, but speak of home, children, wealth, and other possessions associated with the body. Prithu looked puzzled. Was Vishnu suggesting he was materially attached? As the king gazed upon Vishnu's beautiful features, he realized the deeper import of the Lord's words. Why had he been so intent on performing 100 sacrifices? It was that lingering attachment which was the root of his irritation with Indra, who had thwarted him by stealing the last horse. Vedic sacrifice was really meant for those desiring material success more than for pleasing the Lord. Vishnu was commending him for setting a good example for others for whom sacrifice might be necessary, but he was instructing him to not be attached to his plans. Vishnu again nodded approvingly. My dear king, embodied souls are contaminated by ignorance. This is true even of the gods. However, you must try to see my hand as the all pervading and self revealing Paramatma at work. He is pure spirit. Without material contamination, the reservoir of good qualities who witnesses all activities, completely independent, he is both different from and transcendental to embodied living beings. When you see me acting in all situations, you will not be influenced by nature's modes, even though living in the material world. Rather, you will always engage in my loving service, unaffected by the modes. Two listened carefully. The Lord was clearly trying to save him from illusion. Influenced by the material energy, he saw Indra as an enemy. This was instructing him to see instead his hand at work. The Lord was above illusion and acting always for everyone's good. If he could see that, then he would never be subject to seeing friends and enemies. He would respond to every situation, good or bad, as the Lord desired. The king let out a long sigh, his heart pacified. If Vishnu did not want him to perform the 100 sacrifice, then why be attached to the idea? Vishnu smiled at Prithu. My dear king, one who performs his worldly duties in my loving service without material desire becomes satisfied. When his heart is cleansed of impurity, the devotee no longer sees from the narrow perspective of selfish enjoyment. Rather, he has the broader vision of pleasing me. Since he sees everything happening by my will, he accepts all situations equally. This gives rise to inner peace. Such a person is on the transcendental platform, fixed in Brahman realization. Indra had been paying close attention to the conversation. On hearing how one should act only for Vishnu's pleasure, he lowered his head. He had acted shamefully out of personal ambition. If only he could become more like King Prithu, who had quickly relinquished his desire to perform 100 sacrifices. Vishnu glanced compassionately at Indra and continued to speak. When one recognizes that he is a soul completely different from the ever-changing body and mind, he becomes unaffected by happiness and distress related to the body. This is liberation from material bondage. Indra lifted his head and looked at Vishnu. Surely the Lord had understood his mind. This is what he must do, but how? It was not easy to realize one's spiritual identity.
We'll pause there. Any thoughts, any comments?
I mean, it's wow, the psychology of Prithu Maharaj that Vishnu could recognize. Because sometimes it happens to us also, right? When we
Mm.
get disturbed by their narcissism, but whatever activities they do or disturbance they do, somehow or other it also shows that something is there in our heart because of which we are like getting triggered. We
Mm.
are not being able to make peace, and Vishnu could recognize, right? It's like both way, right? We
Yeah.
can see how narcissists behave and they are like so blind. And at the same time, if I'm disturbed, I can also see that it's also something is there in my heart, which because of which I'm getting triggered.
Mm.
Being able to make peace, like so wonderful, so wonderful.
I guess the difference is for us as human beings, this is Prithu Maharaj is not a human being, is Shaktivesh avatar, but for human beings, those emotions are usually mixed, right? They're a mixed thing. And for Prithu Maharaj, it's like pure. Whether he feels a grudge, it's pure. Or whether he feels to make peace, it's pure. For us, we weigh pros and cons, and for us, being pros and cons is very different. We're not saving entire humanity from, oh, Indra is going to come up with some irreligious practice that people will follow. For us, those are not considerations. For us, our considerations are very trivial stuff. Oh, my false ego, oh, my things. At the same time, in principle, see, this is personalism, right? In the in the capacity in tattva, theological level, Prithu Maharaj is totally liberated. He's already liberated. But on the rasa level, right, there is a whole rasa going on here. Indra is also part of the story for Krishna, but because he wants Indra to learn something. Then all this is happening with so many characters learning so many lessons. So Prithu Maharaj, in the rasa level, all this is, he got a little, oh, yeah, okay, I'll do it, but internally. But on the tattva level, on theology level, there is no question. But then this is for the purpose of the Leela, that all this comes to take place to show to us that it's okay to take our time to process our emotions. And look, Indra also, he's a sincere devotee, right? Indra. I mean, kind of. he
Yeah.
he had acted shamefully out of
Mm.
personal ambition. He recognized it. He recognizes it. And we see that picture today in this of this class. I will put the picture of Indra apologizing to Prithu. No, there is that picture. I mean, somehow Indra keeps getting into trouble. He just keeps getting into trouble.
I
Yeah.
really like that point, Madhavan, like you said, right? We have to process the emotion because
Oh, yeah.
it is so important. Like we read it directly from Bhagavatam. Like even like Prithu Maharaj, he's Saktavai's avatar. He's a pure devotee. He's Lord himself. But
Mm-hmm.
Krishna didn't fail to show us that it's important to process your emotions. It's okay. You will go through those. Sometimes you'll forget. Sometimes you'll forgive. Sometimes you'll again have some grudge, and that triggering. Oh, why he did
Mm-hmm.
like this? Why I couldn't feel. It's okay. It's like it gives us that facility to remain human and remain not becoming artificial or hard-hearted. Very
So
true.
true.
Very
I'm
true.
thinking of Arjuna. You see, Arjuna had a breakdown in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, right? In the war, beginning of the Mahabharata war. It's not just suddenly, it's a culmination. Yeah, I mean, it was like yesterday, one of our members was sharing how they had somebody came and there was a robbery in their home and everything. So, that she's scared every day that maybe somebody will come in, right? There is a sense of anxiety. And so another member also was, we were discussing about when we're going through some trauma, and then we get busy, we don't think about it. But when we come to a certain position, all comes back at us. So Arjuna, that similar thing was happening, that all that going into the forest and the exile and all this and all the things that were happening suddenly when he had to face them on the other side of the other end of the war, and it was all becoming too real, he had a breakdown. because he had not processed all those things in the light of Shastra, in the light of, from Krishna's perspective. He tried his best from his own perspective, right? He was even having personal sangha of Krishna. He was sitting on the same bed, eating, laughing, talking, chatting, yet he hadn't processed. So this Bhagavad Gita first chapter is his whole processing. He goes on, what we are studying now in the evenings, he goes on and on and on. If this happens, that will happen, and that will happen, and then what's the point? What's the point of bloodying my hands with my own relatives' bloods? How can I enjoy? Who will I show off to? Prabhupada comments in the commentary that even if I win a kingdom, I don't have anybody to show off to. All the relatives will be dead. What's the point? So Arjuna's processing it. That's the first chapter of the Gita. He's processing, because all this time they were busy. Okay, run here, run there. Okay, gain this strength. Okay, go hide in Virata's kingdom. Oh, become Brihannala and this, that. They were getting very busy. Then it all came to Lord immediately. Wow, I have to really kill these people. Then it all became real. During when they were in the forest, Arjuna and Bhima were waiting when I'll kill. Bhima didn't have any doubts, right? He didn't have any doubts. He was always ready. He was ready to kill Duryodhan when he got poisoned. But then, he had to wait. So I'm thinking of Arjuna here, that even Arjuna had to process. Why do we think that we don't need to process, especially as women? Because I'm telling you, if we don't process it in the wrong time, at the wrong place, it'll all come back at us, and then we will get stuck. We can't speak up, maybe in a lecture or in a specific relationship, we lose it, and it all comes out in the wrong relationship, not even the relationship which has hurt us. That's why it's important to do inventory and give it to the Lord, whatever it is, like Prithu Maharaj here, whatever the emotion is.
Madhasi, I'm thinking about, when we talk about Vaishnava cares, right? Or we talk about tolerance. From the example you nicely explained about Arjuna, and here we see Prithu Maharaj. Sometimes when we tell people, devotees, give instruction to tolerate. And sometimes I was listening to one class, one speaker was talking about tolerance, and there I really liked in the question answer session, one Mataji asked, that, Mataji, you are telling us to tolerate and all. I have experience in my personal life that even though when we tolerate, we remain silent and all, because the situation that you cannot speak, you cannot solve. Later on, I see physical difficulties, those, because of those tolerance, it shows up in my body in terms of some acne, some pain, or some, physical difficulties. And I was listening to that class, and I realized it's because we misunderstood the word tolerance. We, instead of just processing our emotion, we end up suppressing it. And we think this is what we are supposed to do. We tolerate means suppress our emotions, not process it. Because sometimes in our society, we make people misunderstand it, because we also don't understand what does it mean of being tolerate. End up telling them suppress it. We are telling them tolerate, but the instruction we give, you have to suppress. You can't do anything. If you express your emotions, it's like a sign of weakness. Oh, you are not being devotee, like that. It's so important to understand what does it mean, to tolerate. And another point I really like, you explain clearly the difference between the personality of Bhishma and Arjuna, right? Different people has different way of tolerating. For Bhishma, it's there is no question that you will break down and you'll feel, oh, how can I kill my kinsman? So Bhishma has that personality. But
Bhima.
Bhima. At the same time, Arjuna has a different personality, right? So when we deal with devotees also, giving them instruction, tolerate, we have to, what does it call, respect their personality. Yeah, we have to respect their personality. We cannot make everyone they cannot destroy their individually. It becomes impersonal again.
And for Bhima, he already went through his processing. His processing was to control his anger, because at every day he wanted to smash the head of Duryodhan.
Right.
The day that he saw the Draupadi being insulted, he wanted to rip open his thighs. His processing was to not act in passion, to not act according to his will. And the secret, thank you for bringing this up. The beautifully you opened up this topic. See here, this point here, Prithu Maharaj, this is the secret. Whether it's Pandavas, whether it's Kunti, whether it's Dhruva, whether it's Prahlad, if Vishnu did not want him to perform the 100 sacrifice, then why be attached to the idea? That's it. So, the solution is God's will. God's will. The point is, if we become willing to align to God's will, then there is no question of keeping a grudge. There is no question of suppression. The question of suppression comes when it is about comes on Krishna's will to prevail, which Bhima or Krishna, that Bhima single-handedly killed all the Kauravas. Just killed everybody.
Right. Yeah. And another thing from this.
So his processing is different. Not that people don't need processing, like you said, it's different natures, so different ways of processing. Some of us
to respect it.
Yeah. And some of us are more emotional, like Arjuna is more emotional, he's breaking down and all that. We see that.
No, from here, another thing I'm remembering, like when we take care of the devotees, we also need to, practice that patience, like with them. We cannot like get angry, that agitated. Oh, I explained to you everything. That time you are fine, and next time something happen again, you break down. Like it reminds me of Arjuna's situation, right? In the beginning, he learned Bhagavad Gita. He was breaking down, but he became pacified. He got up and fight. But when it comes to Abhimanyu, when Abhimanyu was killed, he like sometimes people ask this question, right? Why Arjuna became again agitated? He heard Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita, he fought, but when it comes to Arjuna, Abhimanyu's death, one touched my heart really, like seeing how Krishna reciprocated with him at the time. Krishna doesn't tell him, no, that oh, I spoke to you Bhagavad Gita for so long. You just wasted my time, you forgot everything right now. It's not like that. Like as what I'm thinking, like as a caretaker, when we take care of the devotees, it may happen with them again and again, even though they understand later on something may happen and they may feel a little bit low, in another difficult situation. Then we have to be very compassionate and give them that time again to process again. We cannot tell them, oh, I told you all the philosophy, you forgot everything. I mean, that is so inhuman, right? Sometimes we end up doing that. We become hard-hearted, not understanding that ultimately these are emotions and it will remain.
Yeah, that's true. That's why Krishna is the best psychologist. At the same time, because I have experience of people that ask some advice from me, etc. But then they don't follow the advice at all. They don't have any intention. They just want to come and dump their emotions. They don't want to take medicine. They don't want to take the medicine.
That's true.
So, like for example, you know how many? I'm gonna stop the live